If you've been following Virgin Voyages on social media over the past couple of days, you'll know there's a big announcement coming today. Well, we've been having some really exciting conversations with Virgin Voyages over the past few days to get this information ready for you right now. We've been preparing some information over at vvinsider.com to explain everything about this announcement, and crucially, we've been digging down into what you need to know as sailors over the next few months. I'm David from VV Insider, and we've been doing what we do best here at VV Insider, which is to bring all the information from Virgin Voyages and break it down into a really easy to understand format for you, the sailors, and for first mates around the world. So before we get into the big announcement, I'll just pause here for 1 second and ask if you haven't subscribed to our YouTube channel already, that you drop us a subscribe. And also, as we go through the announcement, let us know in the comments what you think about each aspect as we go through it, because it's likely that it's not just us who will be looking at this feedback, but also the Virgin Voyages brand as well. So let's jump right in. So before I disappoint anyone, before I go any further, this announcement has nothing to do with any more ships, unfortunately. This is a question that the Virgin Voyages board are being asked time and time again. And of course, if any such announcements are going to happen like that, the best place to find all that information will be right here at VV Inside. But right now, let's talk about the September 2025 announcement from Virgin Voyages and what it means for you as sailors. So this announcement is going to break down into 2 parts. The first part is going to be all about the changes to the type of fares that you can choose as a sailor when you're booking your Virgin Voyage. And the second half will be about gratuities and how that is changed in the world of Virgin Voyages. So let's kick things off first with those changes to the choices that you're given when you're booking your voyage. And this is something that Virgin Voyages call Voyage Fare Choices. The Voyage Fare Choices announcement is all about giving the flexibility to sailors about choosing the voyage that is tailored to them. So as you're going through and booking your Virgin Voyages vacation either directly or with a first mate, there will now be more choices available to you, not only limited to the pricing, but also how flexible those vacations will be. Virgin Voyages are touting the voyage fare changes as a revolutionary new pricing system that actually aligns more to hotel or airline pricing models, where the prices of the fares are determined by the level of flexibility and the perks that you get included with those. Now, when Virgin Voyages first started telling us about these changes to fare options, alarm bells started ringing, and I thought, right, it's going to be very different when you step on board now, because depending on how much you pay, that could mean differences to which dining options are available to you. It could mean that you're having to pay extra for events, things like this. But Virgin Voyages were very keen to alleviate our concerns in that regard. And they actually confirmed to us right away that the Virgin Voyages onboard experience is not changing as part of this announcement. So when you get on board, the experience will be the one that you know and love from Virgin Voyages. Nothing will change in that regard. Every sailor will be treated as every other sailor is. You will have access to the same dining, the same event as always. They even went as far as confirming that the crew will not even know which type of fare you've chosen once you get on board. So it is completely separate, and it will become a lot more clear what we mean when we step through the rest of this announcement. So let's start off by taking a look at what today's fare includes. So of course, today's fare includes that always included luxury, which are all the things that I've just mentioned. So the incredible dining, the entertainment, the fitness classes, the sodas, the waters, the included Wi-Fi, all of that will remain. But one important aspect to this announcement that is changing, or will be offered as a choice anyway, is the flexibility that you get with today's fare. So currently you're able to change the named sailors on your booking up to 48 hours before you sail. And likewise, you're also able to move your cabin assignment around as well. And in addition to this, you're also able to move your voyage to a different sailing date, or at least the credit that you have put towards that voyage, up to 45 days before you sail as well. Well, starting from the 7th of October, the style of fare that's being offered for those who are booking a sea terrace cabin or below will no longer be offered. So the 7th of October is the date where things will change. Remember, that is limited to sea terrace and below. So if you're traveling Rockstar or Mega Rockstar, your options will just be the same as they are today. So for the sake of this video and the terminology that we'll use on our website at vvinsider.com as well, we're going to refer to any bookings that were made before the 7th of October as legacy fare bookings. Now, these legacy fare bookings are quite interesting because not only will you keep the same booking terms as you normally would, you actually get a bit of a hidden perk where actually the window where you're able to book dining will be extended to 60 days instead of 45. So you'll be able to book your dining for your voyage a little bit earlier than you did before. And this counts on bookings all the way up until the 7th of October. So you still have time right now, if you like, to book a sailing and lock it in on that legacy fare. But now I'm going to tell you about the new voyage fare choices model and the choices that come along with that. So you might prefer these options instead. So the first voyage fare choice I want to mention is called the Essential Fare. And the Essential Fare effectively replaces the Legacy Fare. And I'm going to show you just how similar the Essential Fare is to the fare that you already use today and the one that you'll probably be familiar with already. So the Essential Fare is very similar to the Legacy Fare indeed. You likely will not recognize any differences at all. The one main difference here is that the flexibility of this fare has been slightly diminished, with the fact that you can now only make changes to your fellow sailors rather than the main sailor on the booking. So what I mean by that is when you go through the booking process, you'll be asked who you would like to designate as Sailor 1. So starting from the 7th of October, if you choose an Essential Fare and you set yourself as Sailor 1, you will now have to go on that voyage. There will no longer be the option to swap your name out for somebody else. This is particularly important to any of those that have moved their booking to one of their family members or maybe sold their booking to a friend in the past. Because with the Essential Fare, it won't have that flexibility. So one thing to be really careful with on an Essential Fare is always name the person who's definitely going as Sailor 1 on these bookings, because you will not be able to swap them out. But other than that small caveat, the Essential Fare will be very, very similar to the Legacy Fare of old, and will continue to have a 45-day booking window for dining. So remember, if you want to keep that flexibility for Sailor 1, and you also want a 60-day dining booking window, then make sure you make your booking before the 7th of October if you'd like to lock that down. So let's now take a look at one of our first choices when it comes to this new model. So let's move along to something that is a lot more flexible than the Essential Fare, and that is the new Premium Fare option. So the Premium Fare will sit above the Essential option, and of course, because it sits above the Essential Fare, there is an additional cost involved with the Premium Fare, but it does include some new perks. So let's take a look at what those perks look like. So the additional cost for the Premium Fare will be $45 per sailor per night, but that includes a few really valuable perks. The first one being a 60-day dining booking window. So a 60-day dining booking window was originally preserved just for those in the Rockstar and the Mega Rockstar level, where now they're available to all cabin types on the Premium Fare. So this will give you 15 additional days to book your dining ahead of those on the Essential Fare option. So this could mean the difference between you snagging a large table in one of the really popular restaurants before anyone else. The only people that you'll really be competing with at this point are the rock stars and the mega rock stars on board. The Premium Fare, of course, is also the most flexible option. So you will have the option to be able to change the main sailor or Sailor 1 out in your voyage. You're not restricted to just changing the fellow sailors in your voyage. So this really gives you a huge amount of flexibility what to do with your voyage. If you're one of those people that can't necessarily predict whether you'll be available or not when that voyage comes along, you'll be able to move this voyage along to a family member or a friend, whomever you like. Also with the Premium Fare, you will also get premium Wi-Fi included as well. So that's faster browsing for 2 devices per sailor. So you can do things like streaming and video calling on this premium Wi-Fi. Also with this Premium Fare, you'll be given a bar tab allowance every day to use too. So you'll be given $15 of extra bar tab per night for you to spend on alcohol or premium soft drinks or coffees, or even things like afternoon tea as well. And then finally, with the Premium Fare, you will also have access to priority sailor services as well. So as long as you call up sailor services using the phone number that is registered to your booking, you'll be patched through to a dedicated support line just for you premium sailors. And that's a really good and quick way to make those flexible amendments to your booking and also make the most of that 60-day dining booking window as well. So that's the first truly brand new voyage fare choice available. So again, let me know what you think about the premium fare in the comments. Is this something that looks interesting to you? Would you pay the extra for that extra flexibility? Do you think bundling the premium Wi-Fi and that extra bar tab in there is worthwhile? Let me know what you think. So let's go back to our choices and see what that looks like now when we bring in the final choice, which is actually on the lower end of the scale. And this is called the base fare. So as you probably guessed by now, the base fare will be presented at a slightly discounted rate compared to the essential fare. But with that comes a lower level of flexibility. So let's take a look at what that looks like. So although you will be getting a discounted price with the base fare, it does come with a few limitations. The first limitation is that you will get a 15-day dining booking window. So this is of course significantly reduced from the essential and the premium fare options. So although you're getting that discounted price, you do run the risk on the base fare of not many dining options being available to you. But if you're somebody that prefers the pizza place or the galley, maybe this is a great option for you. Or if you're traveling as a solo or as a couple, you might be able to get some dining options just by walking up to the restaurants on board. So it may not be a bad choice at all. One thing you do need to be careful of is that this base fare is non-refundable and it doesn't allow any changes at all. So that means whatever details you put in at the point of booking, so the main sailor, the fellow sailors, the date that you're sailing on, and the cabin that you choose or the cabin that's assigned to you, you will not be able to change those. So it's kind of similar to a lock-it-in rate if you've read about those on VV Insider or you've seen them on the Virgin Voyages website before. One other caveat here with the base fare is that the Wi-Fi that you receive, it is included still on Virgin Voyages, which is great, but they have introduced a new Wi-Fi plan called Basic Wi-Fi, and this sits on a step below the Classic Wi-Fi. So Virgin Voyages has said that this is great for things like social media, messaging and emails, and some light browsing as well. From what we understand, the Basic Wi-Fi will be around about half the speed of the Classic Wi-Fi. So it will be limited in that regard. But again, if you're somebody who likes to sail and put your phone to one side and just enjoy the experience, maybe the base fare option is for you. It's all about the different choices and how you prefer to plan and voyage. So again, with the introduction of that base fare that we're talking about here, so I'd love to know what you think about the base fare. Is this something that you could live with if you got a discounted price? Or is it a step too far and you'd like to have those options to book your dining, you like the classic Wi-Fi? What do you think? Let me know in the comments. So that is the third and final voyage fare option I wanted to introduce to you today. So that gives you 3 different options. Now, what Virgin Voyages expect to see in practice is that most people will still opt for that very classic option, the essential fare, which is very similar to the fare that's offered today. So they're expecting to see about 60 or 70% of bookings to choose the essential fare option. So for most sailors, they won't see much of a difference from the booking that they're making today compared to after the 7th of October. But what this does do is it opens the door for a little bit more flexibility. So for those that don't need that level of flexibility, so maybe you live near one of the ports and you want to book something last minute, maybe the base fare is great for you. But if you're a planner and you prefer to get everything in order, then maybe the premium fare is the option for you. So the way we characterize this ourselves is we think the base fare are more for those people that say, just get me on board. I don't necessarily care. I don't need to plan. And the premium is more for those that are the plan and preparers, the ones that really want to make sure that if they do need to move a plan around, that they can. And also maybe for those that like to have that more inclusive experience when they get on board. They've got a bit of bar tab ready to use, and they've also got their premium Wi-Fi plan already paid for and on their booking. So when they get on board, they're all ready to go. So let's recap those new Virgin Voyages voyage fare choices options. So the first voyage fare is the base fare. So the price of this will be slightly discounted compared to the essential fare. We'll see obviously in practice what that looks like when it's released on the 7th of October. To get that discounted rate, you are sacrificing flexibility, so you're not able to make any changes to this once you've booked it and paid for it. Then we have the plan that Virgin Voyages anticipate will be the most popular fare, which is the essential fare. And with this, it is more flexible because you are able to change the voyage date, your cabin, and also the name of any fellow sailors that will be joining you on the voyage as well. The pricing will be the same as we see today, but now of course joining these options is this new premium level. And with premium, it will be $45 extra per person per night. But with that comes a level of flexibility where you're able to change the names of all the sailors on the booking, you're able to change your sailing date, and also the cabin you've been assigned as well. Bundled with this, of course, you'll get the premium Wi-Fi, and you'll also get an additional $15 of bar tab per night added to your booking. You'll also, of course, benefit from that priority sailor services support as well. So those are all the options available in this new Voyage Fare Choices model that Virgin Voyages are announcing today. Again, let me know in the comments what you think about these new pricing options, and let me know which one you're likely to go for when you make your next Virgin Voyages booking. So now let's move on to the second part of this announcement, and this is all about gratuities. So this, of course, is a fairly interesting, if not controversial topic for Virgin Voyages, because part of what makes Virgin Voyages different is that the gratuities were always included as part of your voyage fare. So I can already hear the alarm bells ringing around the world when I start to mention gratuities as they relate to Virgin Voyages. Well, let me put your mind at rest right away. Virgin Voyages made it very clear to us that they are not adding gratuities to the cost of your voyage. In fact, it's quite the opposite. What they're doing is making things a little bit more transparent so you can compare the price of a Virgin Voyages cruise with the price of any other cruise that you would sail on with one of the other cruising brands. So let me explain what I mean by this. So if we take a look at an example fare as it exists today, so let's say that we are two sailors sailing in a cabin on a 7-night voyage, and let's say the cost of that voyage is $3,500, just for example. Right now, that would be our total voyage fare. That's how much our entire voyage costs. But let's break that down a little bit and see what that actually made up of. So first of all, you're paying for your cruise fare, your accommodation, the standard cruise experience. Of course, these ships are not cheap, and the Virgin Voyages ships in particular are very, very nice, and they cost a lot of money to run, including the fantastic world-class entertainment you see on board as well. If we add to that the cost of food and beverages, so you get your sodas, filtered waters, all of that included on Virgin Voyages, and the food is also incredible. If you've been on board before, you'll know exactly what I mean. Then of course, a chunk of your fare goes towards taxes and fees as well. And then finally, bundled in with the Virgin Voyages fare, you have staff gratuities included in that cost as well. And this is where Virgin Voyages historically has stood out, because they don't ask any more for those extra gratuities, but in reality it's always been hidden in that big sticker price, which has effectively inflated the cost of a voyage to a price that isn't really comparable to other cruise lines. And Virgin Voyages have pointed out that it does, in a small way, diminish the value that the crew really brings to your voyage experience. So to address these problems, what Virgin Voyages are going to do is, instead of using that big sticker price to include the gratuities, they're going to reduce the amount that displays on their website to remove that gratuities portion, and instead list gratuities as a separate line item. So the effect here will be that the price of the voyage actually doesn't change at all. So in this example, it's still $3,500, but crucially now the voyage fare and the gratuities are separated out. So from the 7th of October, you'll start to see the prices of voyages reducing by that amount that gratuities currently takes up, and it will be dealt with and paid for separately. So let's quickly drill into what those gratuities actually look like. So the cost for gratuities are $20 per sailor per night. So in this example 7-night voyage with 2 sailors, the full gratuity amount is $280. And there will be 2 different ways to pay your gratuities. So you can choose to pay for this as effectively a package add-on. So you're actually going to pay for gratuities just like you would with any add-on. So for example, if you were adding bar tab, or if you were adding splash of romance, for example, it would be very much a similar thing. And if you choose to do it that way, it would be $20 per night. Alternatively, if you'd prefer to pay it while you're sailing, so for example, if you want to just go down to Sailor Services and pay in cash, for example, or you prefer for it to just get added on to your voyage portfolio, which will just come off your credit card at the end of the sailing, the price is slightly different, so you'll pay $22 per night if you decide to do it that way. Just be aware you'll lose that opportunity to get the discounted rate if you don't do that in the time where you're able to book those add-on experiences. This normally cuts off around 24 to 48 hours before you sail. So let's just look at a few details when it comes to these gratuities. So the first thing to mention is that the onboard tipping experience is not going to change. So when you order an alcoholic drink, for example, from the bar, you're not going to get one of those receipts where you have to choose a tip and sign. That's not going to happen on board Virgin Voyages. You're still encouraged not to tip on board, but you certainly can if you want to. We have a tipping and gratuities guide on vvinsider.com if you want to read more about how tipping works on board the ship. One other thing to note, and this is something that we checked with Virgin Voyages, is that the crew pay will stay exactly the same. So they're not receiving any more, any less based on these changes for sailors. They will not experience any change in what they're getting paid. And a note just to reiterate that you can prepay for your voyage gratuities at any point up to the point where you sail, as long as those options for those add-ons are still available. So just to be on the safe side, I always recommend doing it at least 48 hours before you sail to make sure you don't lose out on that discounted rate. Another note here, and this is something that Virgin Voyages are very proud of, is that the amount that you pay for your gratuities will not change depending on which cabin type or which suite you're in. So whether you are mega rockstar in a massive suite or whether you're in an inside lock-it-in cabin, you still pay the same gratuities. And likewise, the fare choice that you've chosen, so from those fare choices that I talked about earlier in this video, doesn't matter which one you pick, you always pay the same gratuities. It makes no difference at all. So that's a lot to go through. Let's quickly recap what changes are coming into force from the 7th of October. So first of all, we have our voyage fare choices. These are brand new fare options available for every sailor on Virgin Voyages that are sailing in the sea terrace or below cabin types. So remember, if you're Rockstar or a Mega Rockstar, you will just continue to book on the standard fare just as before. But for everyone else, you now choose the flexibility and perks level that you're looking for. You will choose between a discounted rate going for the base option, in which case you can't make any changes to your bookings and you get basic Wi-Fi and a 15-day dining window. Alternatively, you go for the classic option, which is called the essential option. And in this way, you pay the normal price. You are able to make changes to your cabin, your sailing date, and your fellow sailors, but you're not able to change the main sailor on your booking. And with this, you'll have a 45-day dining booking window. Or finally, you can choose the new premium option, which is an additional $45 per sailor per night. And that's the most flexible option, where you can change the names of all the sailors on the booking. You can change the sailing date and your cabin as well. You'll also get premium Wi-Fi during your voyage, and you'll also have $15 of bar tab credit per night as well. And you have the extra bonus on this level of having access to priority sailor services too. And then finally, we have the announcement that gratuities will now be shown separately to your voyage fare, and they will be charged at $20 per night per sailor as a pre-voyage add-on, or if you prefer to pay your voyage gratuities when you get on board, you'll pay $22 per sailor per night. So that's everything from this big announcement from Virgin Voyages today. So I hope we've done a good job of spelling all of this out for you. These are fairly complex changes that are going into place for Virgin Voyages, so it would be really useful if you could let us know whether we've helped you understand this or not. And also, it'd be really nice to hear from you what you think of these changes from Virgin Voyages and how it might change your booking preferences in the future. So do leave us a comment letting us know what you think of these big changes. And of course, if we've been any help at all, do make sure you subscribe to our channel, because we have loads of Virgin Voyages information that we put out every single week, including every 2 weeks we do a Virgin Voyages update, which will bring you all the news from the previous 2 weeks and let you know what to expect and what's coming up on board the Virgin Voyages ships. And also, we have fantastic video guides that go through how to get the most out of your Virgin Voyage. So make sure that you subscribe to our channel. And if you'd like to show some support for our channel, make sure when you're booking your next Virgin Voyage, you're doing that through vvinsider.com/book, where we can look to see if we can get you some exclusive perks. And you'll also get ad-free access to our entire website, all of the guides, all of the tools, ad-free. So thank you so much for joining me on this deep dive of this announcement today. And until next time, happy sailing.